Hey everyone, this is Sanjay here, and welcome to our second session of GSOC live session on career guidance. So here we have Arjun. So we will be talking about a lot about your career advancement, and we will be also have some deep insight into the GCP as well. So by saying that, before we jumping into the particular session, I want to take 2 minutes to address you the Postman challenge which we have right now, and I can see that you guys are doing amazing job in terms of the contribution, especially open source contribution along with the Hacktoberfest. I hope you guys got all the 4 holopin badge. If not, you still have time to go and grab the badge out there. And also by saying that, we have partnered with Postman, so we do have the challenge open right now. So for the people who completing the challenge early, you will be getting the swags shipped from the Postman. Again, the swags are available subjected to based on the campaign. So only people who participate in the campaign will be getting the swags. By let me share my screen and just give you one more glimpse about how exactly that works. All right. I hope you can see my screen. So all you need to do is like go to the GSOC website, go to the Postman challenge. If you have not registered for the GSOC, make sure that you register for the GSOC in the main page. So here we have all the details about the Postman challenge. All you need to do is like click on the link to register. And I myself made the entire session confined in 25 minutes, so you hardly take around 30 to 35 minutes to complete the NDA certification. So this would definitely help you in terms of scaling up scaling up your resume as a student, because you are getting some industry level knowledge and with the backup from the Postman team as well. And yeah, make sure that you talk about your achievements in LinkedIn. So all these platforms are really important in terms of developing your career change and career growth and trajectory. So I'm not a person to talk more about that. So I'm just giving you a glimpse about what's really happening with the GSOC right now. And by saying that, I will be passing to Arjun, you can just talk about a brief introduction about yourself, and yeah, then we will just head into the Q&A session.
First of all, I would like to thanks all the organizer for giving me this opportunity to speak on various aspects of coding, interviews, challenges, or whatever topic we are going to basically discuss in this today's session. Myself, Arjun Vijayvargiya, I am a engineer at Google Gurgaon office. It's been like almost more than 2 years at Google India. Before that, I have also worked on a couple of technological firms like Oracle, Goldman Sachs, and then I shifted over to Germany, worked at Delivery Hero at their Berlin office, then came back to India at joining Google India finally. So this is my brief introduction. Almost like 8 years of experience. This definitely going like a kind of a boring part right now, but yeah, this is all in brief about myself.
Yeah, I saw your profile as a Google engineer, and I don't want to, you know, uh, stop the surprise from my side. So I just thought to give a chance to you and explain, yeah, about how you been part of the Google and everything. So we will come up to that particular topic in the end of the session. So by saying that, again, for the people who might have joined in this particular session, Google might be the company like everyone's dream company out here. So yeah, we have Arjun here. Keep asking the questions in the comment box. So we will be taking that at the end of the session. All right. So by saying that, Arjun, can you share a bit about your background and how you got started into cloud architecture and software development? For example, when I've been a student, I would see that uh, Google Cloud Platform is rolling out all the campaigns. So you complete the certification, they send you swags to promote the cloud academy or cloud learning. So is it still ongoing, or how people can get into that as well? Just trying to adding it on the particular question.
Yeah, just to add to your last question, so that will be easy for me to answer. So, I mean, I tried long back when I was not associated with Google. It was like there was some $300 credits and there you can utilize the GCP environment. And there were Cloud Academy and all those things that used to offer some of the courses initially as free. But I'm not sure and would not be the right person to kind of answer that. I will get back to you in case if you want the exact answer.
Oh, all right. So, what was the first experience in coding? Like, what did you exactly learn from your first experience in terms of coding?
Okay, so looking back, it was back in my school days when I had this. I started my coding adventure with, somewhere around in 11th standard, where I enrolled into, there was C++ course that comes, right? So I took it as apart from PCM plus C++, where I learned the aspects of coding, right? The only adventurous part was, like developing programs. Rest all was theoretical, so like learning how to build some basic softwares, like building calculators and how it used to work, right, with different inputs, was something which was fascinating to me. Um Now that was a time when I was mesmerized by this coding world, and I uh, kind of had this dedication of becoming a software engineer, developing games, softwares, and all those things. Then I delved into that university world where I took the I went to BITS Pilani, and I took the branch computer science, right? So in the first year, I saw my seniors, coding in multiple languages, Python, Java, and whatnot. I was totally confused, to be honest. Then definitely there came a time where I interacted with my senior folks and tried to, uh, learn like what is the best way to go around coding in multiple languages, learning, cracking the coding interviews, and all those things that came as a later part of the university days.
Right. So you mentioned about your colleagues or your friends learning different programming languages. So adding on to that, so what do you find in the current industry? What is the technologies or programming language which you find most exciting right now? Because adding that to that, we have Golang, Ruby on Rails. So what's your opinion on those things?
Yeah, definitely. In the current days, like being a full stack developer, I have made my hands dirty in multiple languages like Angular, React, the emerging technology, Vue.js, White.js, and all those things. But there is nothing like like this language is the best one, or like we should go about this is the final, because it keeps on emerging, right? The technology keeps on emerging, so it's about what kind of languages suits your need. So depending upon the kind of project, the kind of resources available, the company takes a call like where to invest, right? So it's mostly about let's say if I take Java, so it's a mixed bag, right? Some people are using Java and some people are using Python. So in the AI world, people mostly use Python. That's what I have seen. Definitely for AI based programming languages, I would definitely prefer Python scripts and all those things. But definitely if I have to go about some object oriented way and kind of build some robust softwares, right, web applications, then Python can be used, but also Java is kind of mostly the industry wide standard.
Oh, all right. That's a bit of good insight for me as well. Like I was thinking, like, okay, Java is going down because no one using these days. Because even when you look into the GitHub Copilot, they are mostly trained on the Python programming language these days. They kind of provide you better feedback when you ask any doubts related to the Python repositories. So by saying that, how are the cloud services changing the way that we build software today? Maybe you can touch upon the serverless uh, push from the cloud service.
Okay, so definitely, I would just start from the scratch for the sake of the audience. So people who don't know cloud, so cloud is basically like a bunch of servers that are running in various data centers, right? So you pay some money and they will provide you with cloud offerings or services, right? So those are the things, like if let's say if I build an application in my local machine, right, and I want to host it for the rest of the public and make it live, right, I can host it at some data centers, right? So cloud offerings that are coming in market, like GCP, AWS, Azure, and whatnot, right? So it would be better to, it keeps yourself, busy in basically developing the business logic, and the rest all is basically the infrastructure work, where to deploy, how to scale, and all those things become really smoothened out if you start using cloud, right? So cloud is basically coming up with a lot of services, right? And what I think you mentioned, right, Sanjay, so like the serverless things, right? So serverless is nothing like really a serverless thing. Always there would be servers running behind. It's more about it keeps everything abstract at a layer, right? So you just have to focus on writing the code, dockerizing it, and running your softwares on their servers. You don't have to worry about which machine type to use, how many cores in a CPU that I need to use. It's more about serverless functions that you can, and it's mostly offered by the modern day popular cloud offerings.
Right. By saying that, I went to a recent event where Amazon was trying to push this serverless thing. Like they have something called Redshift, something like that, serverless cloud. So they were trying to push very harder to the community, but I think the adoption of new technology will take some time. At the moment, I believe like Google and Azure is kind of leading in that particular terms. So the next question would be like, what tips do you have for students starting their career in software development? So you can see people are commenting over here. It's like it's a dream job. How to get a job as a software engineer?
Yeah.
So this would be some one of the most exciting question for from their side as well.
Okay, so I would basically break it down for you. This is, I think, the most popular question and wherever you go. And always, I have been a public speaker for a long time, and wherever I go to an event and start speaking about, there would be some, ad hoc sessions that would come up with these kinds of questions, right? So that people like the students from different universities are, very interested to know how to crack this coding interviews of these FANG companies, which that has come as a very popular term right nowadays, which I don't believe much. To be honest, it's like any other company's interview. But the strategy is something which every aspirant for these companies should be making, right? There are a couple of nuances around how to prepare it, right, the right way, is something which is coming into picture nowadays. And there are tons of resources in the market, and there is a high chance that the students get confused, right, which one to use. And whenever an interview is scheduled, right, when the fourth year comes up, and you maybe you are applied as a lateral hiring, right, and you switch between different jobs, there is always a limited time that you need to manage and prepare with the best set of tools that are available in the market. So people will kind of suggest you a lot of tools, softwares, different portals where you can start to learn. But the key aspect of any programming interview is basically the data structures and algorithms. This is the first bit that I want to discuss upon. So whenever you are applying for an interview, the key thing, right, is about the data structures and algorithm. But I would take a step back, right, on a very previous thing that that gives you a kind of that will help you getting your interview scheduled is your resume, right? So that is the first topic that I would come up. So your resume should be refurbished in such a way that the system or the software or from the company, the hiring portal should pick your resume. Second aspect is like you should be not telling lies in the resume. It's totally fine. Like you should focus on what you have done and what you have done it perfectly. Like the companies are looking for something which you are specialized into, right? So let's say if you have developed a software in AI, right, or maybe you have kind of developed a very small application. It can be an Android application, or it can be a mobile application written in multiple platform. It can be hybrid applications, right, or any stack. So that should be the point of like you have invested some time, and that should be on your resume, right? And your resume should be short and crisp. Nobody has time about there are like to read the entire resume of 2 pages. I would highly go around with a resume of 1 page, right? That is something which should one should be focusing upon. Second thing is, this is going to be a long answer. Sorry, you have to keep patience with that. And the second thing is definitely like when preparing. So once your resume gets shortlisted, right, uh, you should focus on data structures and algorithm. During my time, I used couple of resources. I won't just shortlist down to just a single resource, but it is going to be a lot of portals that I have used, like Geeks for Geeks, Lead Code, and I used to practice a lot. And apart from that, I had this background of mobile application development as well, so some programming aspect was coming into picture. But the one thing that I realized pretty soon was, you should be perfect in at least one programming language. Is something like, if you are good in Python or Java, is something which is the most recommended one. You can go ahead with other languages as well, but C++ also offers some of the libraries as well, where you can code fast, because the time management also is a key player when you are coding in these interviews. So the first round is going to be around a hacker rank round or a hacker earth round, or maybe you will be asked some question and you have to complete it in a stipulated time. So this is going to be your initial interviews, where the key focus area would be on data structures and algorithm, if you are applying for a software engineering job. um, Once you get past through it, I can discuss in detail what goes in a programming interview. But the further rounds, if based on your seniority level, it is going to be system design as well. So system design is also a kind of a key aspect, how to design system. I can give some resources, good resources, if time permits, that you can focus on preparing for system design. The last but not the least is going to be your kind of, or some sort of behavioral rounds, where they would try to you know uh, think out, kind of judge you on your communication skills, your background, and how, if you are a team player or not, is something which is also relevant these days. Because when you enter a company, it's not about writing code. It's more about how you deal with pressure, how you deal with different aspects, how you provide your leadership skills to a team, is something which is relevant in your career growth within a company. So these are also some aspects around programming that I would just try to put it here.
Got it. By saying that, you mentioned about the resume, so it's like a personal question from my side. So for a beginner, like a student, you recommend only to have a one-page resume, or what if, like, if they have a couple of internship or couple of projects which they've been actively contributing in open source, would you recommend to, as a student, to go beyond one page of resume?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not a kind of a kind of a very hard thing that you need to put it in just one page. You can extend it to multiple pages, but the whatever you write should be short and crisp and relevant to what the company or the job description is for, is something which will get you shortlisted.
All right, got it. So the next question would be somewhat related to what we have already spoken about. So, as a first or second or third year students, what advice would you give to them to get ahead of their studies and career? So, you already discussed about in terms of resume and preparation. Maybe we can touch upon the personal branding. For example, talk how to use the LinkedIn or GitHub in a wise manner, so they can get ahead of the other people in the market.
Okay, so a couple of things. Like nowadays, recruiters, yeah, actively look for key profiles from LinkedIn platform as well. It is one of the most popular, platform, and you should always, apart from updating your resume, you should keep your LinkedIn profile updated, because recruiters, some of the recruiters are mostly interested to hire from the LinkedIn profile, and definitely Google, Amazon, Facebook. I used to get a lot of calls from these platforms only. So this is one of the key things. Secondly, you should also highlight your key areas of expertise. Let's say if you have done some solid work in AI, Python, or some application development that you have done, right? So AI is getting popular nowadays, and there is nothing without AI. That world is moving towards in that direction, right? So you should also start putting your areas of expertise in AI, ML, all those on LinkedIn. And also, apart from putting the profile, you should also try to reach out to the senior folks which are already working in these companies, right? Try to make connections. Not that you have to ping everyone, right? Because not everyone has time. Definitely, I also don't have much time, but I always try to answer, and answer all kinds of queries that comes from different students and aspirants that are targeting these companies. But the key thing here is to like focus on your skills, work on your data structures and algorithm, and keep your resume updated. Calls will come, and definitely it will be for all good.
So I found this comment bit more relevant to what we are discussing right now. So do you really think that certification matters? For example, you can differentiate between the Udemy certification and the professional certification which Google provides as well.
Yeah, certification matters a lot, or up to certain extent. So just to showcase and kind of have a kind of a veto, or maybe a stamp on, like you have worked and invested time on something. Let's say you're working, you have a professional cloud architect certificate on GCP or maybe on AWS. So it's more about showcasing to the hiring manager, or the recruiters, that you have attained certain level of expertise in a particular skills, right? So it matters, but it's not something like it's a mandatory thing. It's good to have, but not must have.
All right.
Because yeah, because of the fact that like when I applied, right, for Google, I seriously didn't have any kind of professional cloud certification or nothing like that.
All right. And I would like to take this question myself. So, this would be the right way if you don't have much people on your network. This will help you to do more contribution. For example, I'm answering the Siddiqui's question over here. Like, whatever you learn, you can go into the LinkedIn or Twitter and share your learnings with other people, and make sure that you do provide some insights from what you learned. So, this way, it's not just you creating a streak on your LinkedIn, so it will also help other people who follows you to learn in a very productive way. So yeah, that would be something good. And one more thing, as you are all doing open source on GitHub right now, GitHub recently launched something called they already have GitHub Education. So in the GitHub Education pack, they launched GitHub Foundation certification, which usually costs you around $99. Maybe that's the starting price. So now it's like something around $140. They are launching that for students for free. So all of those people who are wondering to get their first certification, I think you can get your first professional certification from GitHub for free. Or I think Google do provide some of the free certification as well, so you can explore those things. Maybe at the end of the session we will be sending you some relevant link for you guys to go and further explore yourself. So by saying that, we are heading to our next questions. Again, all these questions are almost like overlapping each other. So, so what is the one piece of advice you would give to beginners who are just starting out in the tech? So particularly in cloud computing or software development. I think you already addressed this answer. Maybe we can kind of brush it upon.
Yeah, so one key piece of advice that I would try to give to any of the person, who is targeting companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, or whatever it is, just be true to yourself, right? Just believe in yourself is the kind of a philosophical thing. But definitely, you should start preparing. Nothing comes without hard work, right? So it's all about, putting efforts in certain domain skills. So you should start focusing on data structures and algorithm, because that is a base foundation for any programming interview, right? That is a key thing. Once you become well acquainted with, like, solving questions in a stipulated time and manner, then you should start focusing on other topics, right, like system design. Because once you get into a company, you will also be mostly focusing on this designing systems from scratch, right? Also, apart from that, try to inculcate a skill which is kind of popular in the market, right? It can be a full stack development, it can be a cloud based development, it can be AI based development, AI, ML. Start learning very basic algorithms of machine learning, right? Nowadays nobody is interested in mugging up the mathematical part of the AIML algorithm. It's more about how you will implement into your applications, right? So let's say if I will take a very basic example, right? Try to build a very basic chatbot, right? Which tries to, get some responses from the Vertex AI in Google, or it can be some other platform providers. Just try to sign up and, try to see if you are able to leverage that API, and you can create a very basic chatbot that answers your question. So you must be fascinated by a lot of, AI based tools like Chat GPT, Gemini, which is emerging in the market, right? So key thing, a lot of developments are going around in, developing this softwares, and you should also start to learn how these softwares are built. So this is something going to be becoming very popular in the interviews, and companies are looking forward to it.
Okay, so we have some other relevant question from the contributor out here. So they are asking like, is the college CGPA is really important cracking the interviews in the companies like Google or Amazon or any other companies?
Okay, so that's a very good question. But to be honest, like companies like Google, Amazon, mostly, don't focus much on your CGPA, because CGPA, I won't say that's not a, like, you should not you should stop studying, right, in college. But it's more about, how much time and energy you are investing, right? So definitely, couple of things are theoretical in college, which I can definitely understand. But CGPA is not the ultimate criteria, right? To be honest, I was an average student in college. I never used to get, full pointers. But what I focused is not on, like certain key aspects, like, developing mobile application development, and definitely, subjects like data structures and algorithm, DBMS, information retrieval, machine learning. If it is offered in college as a course, right, you should start taking that course as well. So CGPA, up to a certain extent, I would say it matters, but it is at a very initial stage, like when you go out fresh out of college, because it is
Yes.
kind of used as a criteria to, shortlist amongst a good amount bunch of people, right? So company find it sometimes very convenient to, shortlist based on CGPA.
Right. I think it's not just in India, even outside, it's somewhat relevant. When you are just out of the college, they use this kind of criteria to filter people out. Because I have noticed, like, I just finished my master's and I just noticed most of my
Hmm.
batchmates who scored beyond 80% of the CGPA, they got a job opportunity in the first 1 to 5 months of time comparing to the other people. So I do believe like it do plays a role to a major extent as well. But again, it's all about your talent. If you believe in you, what you do, definitely you will get into a good position. So we have one another interesting question is like, is the competitive coding also important? So I will just touch upon that like so along with the competitive coding, do you think that the problem solving skills is also a part of getting a good opportunity? And especially in the companies like Google, I do heard that okay, they do have a behavioral round, and along with the googliness checking. So you can also talk about that so people know about what is that particular world googliness is all about.
Okay. So, to answer your first question, where you are mentioning that is competitive coding also important? Okay, so competitive coding is important, but again, it's up to a certain extent. So, if you do competitive coding, well and good. But if you kind of, if you are able to solve questions, directly, like given but by the companies, and you try to solve it without, getting any help, or, within a stipulated time manner, that is also fine. But when you are in college days, you have, lot of time, right? So when you start doing competitive coding, it creates a kind of a habit of, problem solving. So when you start solving problems on your own and try to see it works, it gives you a sense of confidence, and also, it also masters your concept on working on a specific programming language. So let's say if I solve 10 questions per day in a college, right, on, let's say, in Python, right, in a competitive, doing competitive coding, it gives you a sense of, kind of feeling that you are able to, come out with a solution. So it's more about getting the solution, and that's what the company is focusing as a part of their, when they judge you on the problem solving skills. So it matters a lot. It gives you speed. Time management is also important in the interviews. So if I keep on doing competitive coding at a very good frequency, and also at a kind of in a daily manner, then definitely it will boost your confidence a lot.
All right. And we have another question is like, what materials or videos can be used for improving our problem solving skill? Anything, any particular books or any particular YouTuber you follow to get in updated with the tech, or something which can answer Asher's question over here?
Okay. So just to, I think I didn't answer the last part of your question, the previous question. I'm not sure what was that, but yeah, I would just answer this one.
Oh,
So I think for data structures and algorithm, we have couple of portals, right? One is Geeks for Geeks, which I at my time I referred to that. Second one is going to be Lead Code, where I used to check my time in solving a problem. So I used to solve a lot of lead code problems on a daily basis, just to because I didn't do any kind of relevant competitive coding during my college days that I can flaunt about. I solved this many questions and all those things. But I used to be kind of a daily user of lead code. I won't promote that, but kind of it is one of the key popular platform nowadays. Secondly, regarding system design, there was something like educative.io during my time. It might have changed by now, but that I refer to it. And also there are a couple of freely available videos on YouTube where I used to kind of go there and try to see what are the best possible ways to come up with a video based streaming platform, right? So let's say I have to design Netflix, right? So what are the best? So I used to go to YouTube and try to see what are the best solutions available in the market, right? And what are the different approaches and strategies to design a Netflix application. So kind of your curiosity is going to be a key player here, and try to see what are the different ways we can design a system, because there is no definite answer in a system design. There are a bunch of materials, but there are people. I think Gaurav Sen is one of the key. He's doing a great job as well nowadays. So also I a lot of there. I don't want to promote anything specific.
all right. So maybe I will be sharing a book name which is called "Cracking the Code Interview" by McDowell. So which
McDowell,
is like
yes.
most popular OG book available in the internet right now. So maybe you can get that uh, book online for free, maybe, and get the information. So by saying that, let's head into the next one. So, could you share a personal challenge you faced during a coding interview, and how did you handle it?
Okay, so one of the personal challenge that I faced during was, again, during, like, I applied for Google couple of times, and this was one of my rejection stories. So one of the key things that I was in one of the Google interviews, and I was kind of stuck at one of the problems. Right, it was for just like 50 minutes, where I was given a stipulated time manner I need to solve. I was stuck, and the problem was a bit hard, kind of LC hard they call it. So I keep on trying out multiple ways and approaches, and kind of became nervous after 15-20 minutes. That I kept on thinking like, this is my third round and I won't be able to go ahead, and my chance is over, right? So one of the key learnings, right, and I kind of messed up my interview, right, and I didn't get selected during that time. But the learning is something which was important from this interview was like, you should never get nervous, right? Whether be I have seen people cracking the interviews even after getting a very challenging problem. In the first 20 minutes they are not able to even click on the they didn't get a click of that problem, right? So after 20-30 minutes, they, if you have a strategy, if you are lucky enough that interviewer is trying to play around, or maybe like come up with, he has asked or she has asked a very tough problem, trust yourself, believe yourself, and try to go towards direction, in the direction of the correct solution. That is sometime that will fascinate the interviewer that you are, your trying abilities is also good. So this is one of the key learnings that I got.
All right. So, adding to that question, so when I did the interviews, mostly they do ask me to write the code in a notebook, for
No.
example, Sublime Text or Notepad plus plus. And have you also encountered anything similar to that, or is it like a standard routine? They will make you to code on the not on the IDE and expect you to explain the syntax or how is your thought process is going on. Uh, is it the same thing which you have also gone through?
Yeah, I have been into couple of interviews where I don't have to, code it in a particular ID or something like that. It's a kind of a plain blank sheet, right? The document where I need to, just start coding without any indentation. I know it's a kind of a problematic, and it kind of lowers your confidence, because we generally tend to, do some auto suggestions and all those things are there. But over a period of time, when you start, solving problems on a daily basis and try to, you try to learn syntax as well. So learning syntax is also a key thing here, that will help you, crack these coding interviews. And let's say company is demanding that you have to code without any ID or something like that, which I think Google is also doing something similar kind of that. So in that case, you should, like, before your interview days, try to practice on a Google Doc or something like a Sublime Text without any libraries imports, because they're not interested about, library. They are focusing much on the collections that you are trying to use, like a data structure, the hash maps. At least that syntax should be correct. Rest all, I think, the interviewer is not focused about.
Right. And from my experience trying to add in tone so people can get useful, what they're really looking for, I believe, like they are not looking for the correct answer out there. They are looking for how your approach towards the issue they are giving to you. Like they just want you to be vocal about it, how you jump into the particular solution, and why didn't you use arrays, or why did you end up using the nested list or something like that. So they are more likely not looking for a correct answer on the technical interview questions. It's more or likely they want to understand your and their thought process, and how do you deal with the difficult situation. I think this was a very hard lesson which I learned. I was always trying to make
Mhm.
perfect in the technical rounds and trying to get the perfect solution. So in
Yeah.
that process, I forgot to talk myself about what is that solution is all about. So yeah, maybe that's
Yeah,
one thing which I
I,
made.
I would just kind of explore and kind of, give a deep thought on that. So first of all, whenever you are in a coding interview where they, give you a programming problem, let's say, so I would share my journey, right? So what I used to do is, like, first of all, I would read the problem very carefully, right? So that is one of the key things here. So learn and understand the problem. And sometimes when you are sitting for interviews like Google or Amazon, some of the key informations might be missing, right, in the problem itself. That is done purposefully to, to kind of judge you whether you speak out loud or, you understand the problem correctly. So some of the key things might be missing, that you have to go into the clarification phase. First is the reading phase, where you read the entire question carefully, try to see what are the missing pieces in this question, right? Try to think out loud and kind of, ask clarifying questions from the interviewer. That is one of the key things that will, make your interviewer also have a kind of a green take on whether you speak out loud, and you always like a discuss, you always go in a collaborative manner, right? That is one of the key things that they're looking in a company. So once you have the clarifying question, start with don't jump onto coding directly, because this is going to, waste your time, and you will end up not getting selected, right? So first of all, try to take some examples. So let's say if you get a question on a tree, right, or maybe on a graph, so try to see some, kind of, try to visualize that problem into your mind and see what are the inputs that I can give, what kinds of input I can give. Then once you have the kind of, like, you give this input, you process it out, and what is the final output that you need to produce, right? So if it's a graph problem, then what is it expecting a hash map or something like that. So once you have that clarification, you can start with a very basic brute force solution, right? Like a very layman manner, you start with a maybe O of n square, O of n cube, right? Now once you have that kind of strategy, this is all going in strategy, there is no coding started yet, right? So in the first 5-10 minutes or maybe 15 minutes, take it up. If it's a 1 hour interview, try to visualize the strategy, come up with a very basic solution, try to optimize your strategy. So you have to discuss with your interviewer that, like, this is O of n cube solution, now I can use this hash map to make it n O of n square, right? Or maybe O of n log n, right? So those kinds of thing is going to matter a lot, because that will give a confidence to the interviewer that you are thinking in multiple directions, right? You are not just jumping onto a solution just for the sake of completing the interview. Interviewer is not interested about arriving at the final solution, because solutions we can look at it into the books. It's about the approach that matters, like how you arrive at a solution that matters, right? So first of all, just be confident on what you are suggesting. Then you start, once you have the strategy kind of discussed and you have a kind of a consensus with your interviewer that this is the solution that I'm proposing, and is it looking good to you, kind of try to take feedbacks from the interview. So once he gives a green signal, try to start coding. Try to make as less mistakes as possible and look less confident. Try to use the data structure which is readily available. Nobody's interested about the implementation of a hash map. You can use your libraries collections in most of the cases. And once you have your solutions, not just say to the interviewer that, hey, I am done, and you can evaluate or something. Like, it's always going to be different use cases, right? It's going to be, you need to protect your code from null pointer exception. Try to check for null checks. Try to do a dry run of your code with multiple sets of inputs. So this will give you confidence to your interviewer that you have even went from designing, then implementation, then the testing. That's what they are looking into your in your coding rounds, right? So this is going to be kind of a decoding of how the interview process looks like.
Right. So by saying that, we have almost covered the planned questions to discuss with the audience. Maybe I will take five more questions from the chat box. So, of course, by handling the very big position over here, so you might have to deal with a lot of stress scenarios. How do you really do with that? How do you manage the work-life balance? And being in Google, is that an advantage to balance the work-life balance for you, or do you still have the stress dealing with your professional life?
Yeah, so definitely it depends upon the work culture of a company. So I won't kind of promote any certain type of work culture coming from a company. It's always like there would be phases when you would be stressed out, but there would be ways. Definitely there would be ways to handle those stress. So definitely once you start working in companies, right, you will deal with a lot of stress coming from maybe higher management or maybe completing deliverables, right? So for that, definitely you will, over a period of time, you will gain experience how to deal with that. But as I think Jeff Bezos said, I think one of his interviews I was reading, so he said that first problem of any problem that you get, right, or even you, the first key thing is to acknowledge that thing, right? So let's say you get a production issue, right? First you have to acknowledge and kind of tell to your relevant stakeholders that you have to that problem is there and I am working on it, right? Is something which gives you kind of a sense of confidence to the kind of relevant stakeholder who are looking forward to you for a solution, right? And then you start planning out strategy. Nowadays we have an agile methodology that will bring down that gives you very well acquainted planning within a company. Even if it's a waterfall model, which is kind of goes against the gravity of agile methodology, there would be ways to deal stresses around that as well. But I think over a period of time you will learn how to handle those stress working in multiple companies once you gain experience. And definitely you also have to give your time to your family. You also have to to your body as well, right? So kind of you should start doing yoga. I would say meditations is something which comes as a kind of a normal answer to me.
Right. That was a good one. So, next one is like for someone who is starting out in software engineering, is it better to gain experience at a startup first, or the person should focus on the big companies like Google, Amazon? So, could you tell him like what are the pros and cons of each of these things?
Okay, so it's nothing like sometimes you don't decide like you have to go with a startup or maybe on a kind of a big fish like Amazon, Google. It's more about if you get through the interviews, then you start working in one of the big fish there in the market, and then like everything has a pro and pros, and there are pros and cons, right? So if you work in a startup, like there would be, you will be dealing with lesser approvals, and like there would be chances that you get to work on greenfield projects, like starting from scratch, and there would be a lot of development involved. Definitely in big companies like Amazon, Google, there would be projects where you would be developing from scratch. But definitely it's more about in startups, it's more of like working on an application end to end, like from scratch. Google also offers you such projects. I can't comment on other companies, but definitely over a period of time, it's always the development cycle that is always there in one form or the other.
Yeah. So this is from my side the question. So I heard like in Google, like you can work on one of your interest projects, right? If I'm
Yeah.
like you can choose any of the project, for example, YouTube Music or YouTube or Play Store. So are you working on something which you something like that,
Yeah,
spending
I'm
some of
working
your
on.
time?
There is a concept of 20% project, so you can
Yes.
dedicate your 20% of your time in one of the projects that is currently running in one form or the another. So that will enhance your look apart from your key product engineering team, like what are the projects going on, and you can start contributing to it, so that you also get to learn new things from different projects, is what ultimately the agenda there.
All right. The next one is like bit tricky. Like, what if the person having zero knowledge in DSA but good hands-on experience in web dev? So even I was in this particular situation like 5 or 6 years back, where a DSA used to be scare me a lot, but I was really good at in terms of full stack development or some other perspective. So what you will give an advice to people like them?
Okay, so definitely there is nothing like without DSA in the current paradigm, right? Unfortunately, that is not possible. So, like companies, ask DSA question, you have to understand the intent of it, right? They want to, in a fixed stipulated time manner, they want to understand your problem solving skills, and that is not going to work with asking a web development application. Like maybe in a certain interviews, I'm not sure about, some companies may be asking direct straightforward questions to on web application development, but most of the cases I have seen that DSA gives you the foundation of it, right, in any technical interviews. So this is the best way company can judge. There is always joke going around in the market that you give interviews in DSA, but when you enter a company, you don't use DSA, right? It's not true, to
Exactly.
be honest. But it's like you tend to, when you are writing a code, you are kind of using DSA behind the screens, it is working, right? So but companies have kind of inculcated a culture, or kind of a convenient way to judge you on in a very small, because they have to judge multiple candidates, right? They can't go ahead with asking everyone around and developing web application. So I won't say that you should just focus on DSA, or maybe just focus on web development. Focus like at least 70% on DSA and 30% on other things, right? That is going to matter a lot.
Right, makes sense. So this is the last question we will be taking. So is the DevOps and cloud computing same? So if not, what is the different roadmap to learn them respectively? And if there is any relevant resources which you can suggest them?
Okay, so DevOps is basically, these two are, totally different things, and kind of cloud computing also has an offering of DevOps, I would say. So when I say DevOps, developer operations, it's a kind of a key area in a software development world where you try to develop a software and then starts the DevOps operation where you have a kind of a pipelines running up and deploying your code to multiple lower environments or the production based environment, right? That's where the DevOps comes into play, where you establish a CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development pipelines, and that's where the DevOps comes in. And there are popular tools in the market like Jenkins, and other tools like in GCP we have Cloud Build. So those are the things like that will help you, kind of automate the process of deploying the softwares, is something where the DevOps comes in. And cloud computing is kind of a big chunk, right? So that has multiple key offerings. So GCP is kind of, I would say, a cloud computing kind of a platform where you can have a kind of one of the key tools like Cloud Build is one of the DevOps tool that you can use to deploy your softwares. Okay,
All
the
right.
next part of the question, if not, what is the difference and the roadmaps to learn them respectively? And if some resources you can share. Okay, cloud computing, like you can, target for a certification, right? For Google, we have professional cloud architect, cloud developer associate certification. So in that process of, achieving that certification, you will learn a lot of things, some hands-on will be there, and you will learn cloud computing. For DevOps, you can go through some trainings on Jenkins or maybe some popular tools that are available in the market that will at least clarify your concepts on that one.
All right. So yeah, I hope this would be definitely helpful for anybody who is learning. And if you could, if I think many of couldn't join the live session today, but we will make sure that we will be forwarding this link and your LinkedIn ID, if you don't mind, to all the 50,000 people who registered in this program today. So that would be really helpful for them, because I want to personally make sure that I'm sharing this to them, because this kind of knowledge you won't get it unless you do 1:1 mentorship. And I'm really happy that Arjun was like really open to answer all the questions, you know clear cut throughout the 52 minutes of the live session. And
Thank
adding
you.
to that, I heard like few people asking me question like, is the GSOC will help getting into Google Summer of Code? Maybe a bit. It's up to the perspective. For example, GirlScript Summer of Code is designed only for beginners to understand what is this open source is all about. And we do have high level coding people out here, but again, our main priority is to you to introduce into the open source learning and open source contribution, and try to do learning coding through doing a collaborative environment. So maybe if you continue that, definitely if you create your own organization, or if you work on high level repository, that can eventually lead you into get into Google Summer of Code maybe in the future. Again, there is no guarantee. It's all about your hard work, how much time you spend on open source contribution. And maybe Arjun can help us like talking about the Google developer groups. Being in those developer groups has any advantage in terms of scaling up as a contributor or scaling up as a developer? Maybe we can take this as a last question and we can wind it up.
Right, for sure, definitely. So I would tell you a very interesting story about this, about myself. Okay, so I was in third year. There was kind of, in second year, I tried for Google Summer of Codes. Okay, and that's where there was kind of an organization which I was targeting. I was, so as a part of so first of all, I would try to say, as a part of Google Summer of Code, you need to reach out to an organization, start contributing in their open source repository or something like that, and try to give a roadmap of what they are going to build in that particular summer of codes, right? So in second year I tried for it, but unfortunately they took someone else. Okay, that's fine. You I learned a lot on, how, because there are a lot of applications against a particular organization. So there are multiple organizations. So for those people who don't know Google Summer of Code, there are multiple organizations that would be participating in a year, and once they selects you for an organization has couple of slots, maybe two or three, and if they selects you, you are kind of given some kind of money from Google to work on that particular project, and that is going to be an open source project, right? So I tried that in second year, but I failed, right? Now that's a kind of a rejection story. I tried hard, but the good part that I learned is like how to contribute in that open source, right? Is my first stepping stone in that world of open source, right? Now the next year I also tried again, but unfortunately I failed this time as well. Okay, so it's about like learning, and sometimes you don't get that acceptance that easily, right? That's fine, but in that process I learned a lot. I learned a lot about mobile application development because that organization was developing in Android, so I learned about a lot about Android. So I would highly recommend to anyone who is in college or maybe working for a company to keep contributing to open source world for multiple reasons. The first reason is you will get to learn a lot on your programming language on which it is. So let's say if you don't know mobile application development, right? If you start contributing to an open source repository in GitHub, which is speaking about Android or maybe developing a library in Android, just go ahead and start finding out maybe some bugs or some open issues which are there, right? So you will get to learn a lot, and your pull request getting merged is something which you can even put in your resume that you have contributed to an open source. Secondly, once you start contributing, you get a sense of confidence that this is something which I have established some skills. Like I have, as a part of that process, you have learned the entire code of that repository, right? And also that will give you some skills on working on a project. How multiple people collaborate and work on a project is something which you can as well learn from it. So
Right.
anything I missed out in the question, if I be happy to answer.
Yeah, I think there are more questions, so but because of the time constraint, I don't want to take your valuable time. So we'll close it before 1 hour session. So again, I can see some of the comments over here. It was really insightful for them to watch this session and learn from you, from the experienced developer. That's why we from the organization team trying to reach out to the amazing people out there who can really share the real time experience. So I think that would really impact the people who would really want to be in your position in the future. So yeah, by saying that, thank you Arjun for joining the session with the GirlScript Summer of Code. I hope we can have further session in the next program. So, and thank you for joining, and thank you for your amazing feedback. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening out and for joining this session.